Welcome to the Disruptive Entrepreneur Podcast. For anyone who wants to make money and make a difference, grow and leverage your enterprise better, get more done in less time, outsource everything and create your ideal lifestyle. And now, your host, 8 times best-selling author and double world record holder, Rob Moore.
Welcome to the Disruptive Entrepreneur Podcast. This is Rob Moore here, and who'd have thought we'd have got this far? So this is a special 100th episode where I'm taking live questions from our community members all over the world. Before we start, I just want to say an amazing thank you. I'd have never have thought that we'd have got people subscribing over 140 countries, hundreds of thousands of people across the world. I really feel like we've got this really tight-knit, disruptive community. It's not just about me sharing information with you, but how we all help and serve each other to grow and make a difference. I really think we epitomise the if you don't risk anything, you risk everything mantra. So look, I'm really grateful to be here. So less intro from me. Let's get straight in with the live episode. And if you're just tuning in, say hi. If you're in the live feed, where you're from or where are you currently in the world. So say hi, tell me a bit about you and what you do. Look at the tech on this.
So this is Mike, if you want to say
hi. Hi Mike.
Hi Rob.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. So you've got about 6 questions, haven't you?
I don't want to take up all your time. I've got 2, maybe 3 maximum.
Okay, well, I'll answer as many as I can. So far away.
What was the question that you've ever asked that's made the biggest difference to your life, that helped you make more, grow more, give more? I know you're getting married, so we can skip that question.
Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, good question. Recently, a question I like to ask people, whether I'm interviewing on the Disruptive Entrepreneur Podcast or, whether it's someone I really want to learn from, is what question haven't I asked you that I should have asked you? Because you only think about the things that you can think about. You don't know what you don't know. So you'll have a perception of what you want to learn. You'll be in your own bubble. You'll have your own challenges, and your brain will construct its own questions to the answers that it's seeking, but it doesn't know to seek the answers that it doesn't know to seek. And often those answers are the most powerful answers. So recently, I've been asking, what should I have asked you that I haven't asked you that I really should ask you? And actually that question has been getting me answers to questions I should have asked but didn't. So that's the answer to that one.
Okay, very interesting. The next question would be, what do you find more rewarding, making progressive a success in business or being able to continue keeping it successful, disruptive?
Okay, so is that like maintenance or vision and future? So what's more rewarding, keeping it a success or making it more of a success? I'd say they're intrinsically linked, Michael, because if what we do well, we don't continue to do well, or if what we don't do very well, we don't improve, then we may not be as good tomorrow as we are today. At the same time, if we're not looking to disrupt and looking to innovate and looking at how we can change the future, we may not change the future. So, in life, in spirit, you kind of have the clouds, the nebulous, the heavenly energy, and then you have the very detailed, in the dirt, granular sort of concept as well. So, if you think about in business, you've got strategy and vision up here, and then you've got operations and tactics down here. You've got the high sort of visionary energy and the low operational tactical energy. And you need both to function in business. You've got to have an amazing vision. You've got to want to change the world, but you've got to do shit and you've got to solve problems all day, every day. And I think a hunger and passion for doing both is really important. So sorry that it wasn't either or answer, but I think, in an organization, it's probably good to have the different types of people in the different types of roles. So I interviewed yesterday, although if you're listening, you'd have listened to this already, the CEO of Audemars Piguet, Francois Benamias. And he's a very high-level, top-line thinker. And he's got watchmakers who are there. Tom, do you remember yesterday how tiny those screws were? You've got screws that you can't even see. They're like flecks of dust. And you need a loupe to look at them. And you've got these watchmakers that are, you can't, the size of the screw was like a pin. So you've got these people in the technical detail, and like they literally, when they've been working on a watch for 400 hours, they have headaches and they can't look in that much detail anymore because they're so granular and technical. And then you've got Mr. CEO, who's not a watchmaker, and he's not specialist in IT, and he's not specialist in marketing, but he's the guy that has the 50-year vision that he delivers for the family board members, and he puts the team together to make it cohesive. So I think it's both. But Mike, you know me, Michael, because we work together. My favourite part, or what I'm probably best at, or rather what I'm rubbish at, is the technical. What I enjoy and what I'm best at is the strategic.
What is the thing that you found definitely works in business, but most people would disagree with it?
That's a good question. You're testing me. This is the first one. You're testing me. Okay, so I think a lot of people think innovation is hard. And I think there's a lot of people that think that creativity is hard.
I do.
And that's something that I don't think is hard. And I think you can put a more formulaic approach to innovation and creativity. Now, many creative people will tell you that creativity is intuition, it's expression. You can't put a model or a system on it. There's a certain amount of je ne sais quoi. But actually, I think there is a way of creating a system for innovation, solving problems and creativity. And that is to listen and ask people in your team, your customers, your clients, people in your team, people on the phones, the people are sort of doing the budgets, the people in the finance department, the people who are negotiating the contracts, the lawyers. You just ask all the people in your organisation or who you're selling to, what are your problems? If I could do one thing that could get rid of all your pain, what would that be? If I could create one piece of software or a system that would make your job 10 times easier, what would that be? If there was one thing I could do that would stop all the complaints, what would it be? If there's one part of your role you hate that I could take away from you, what is it? If I could magically create one solution, what would it be? And they will tell you because they're experiencing it, they're on the front line. And so I think a lot of people either feel that they can't innovate, or there's a lot of pressure to innovate, or they've got to do it all themselves, or they just don't go around listening to people and talking to people. And we've just set up an innovation award at Progressive, where every quarter we're going to give someone an Innovators Entrepreneurs Award for the best idea that we implemented. And someone in our vision meeting said, "Oh, well, Rob will win that every quarter. That's not really fair." And I didn't know if she was joking or not, but I think it's a bit of a mystique that I have all these amazing ideas, 10 a penny. A lot of my ideas are terrible, and a lot of my best ideas are crowdsourced from you, from the community, from our team, from our clients, our customers, from complaints, from haters, from all of those things. So I hope that answers your question, Michael.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so that will be my last question.
Okay.
If you wrote your autobiography, what would be its title?
Oh, man. Well, I'm very clear it's way too early to write my autobiography. I like to think I'm self-aware enough to know that at 37 years old, I've got a lot to learn. And, maybe I'm waiting for my Jamie Vardy moment because, Jamie Vardy, if you don't know, he's a, the Leicester and England striker. He didn't really have an autobiography that maybe the world would have wanted before Leicester won the league. But it was such an amazing story that Leicester won the league. And in that moment, that was the right time for him to write his autobiography because maybe he'd never have that moment again. And, I know it's too early. Sorry, I'm not going away from your question, Michael. It's just important to say. It's way too early for me to do that. I'm not an Arnold Schwarzenegger by any means. So
I'm only asking about the title, not about the content.
Yeah, I know you did. I'm trying to get there. And I know I've got 4 minutes till the next question. So 2 minutes now. So, I wanted to make it clear that anybody who's writing the story of their life, you've got to do it at the right time. And the right time is maybe when there's a big demand for you. But also the right time is, when you've got enough life experience. And, I still think I've got a way to go there. So the title of my autobiography right now would probably be, it would either be Disruptive or Disruptor. I would say, right now. But hey, in 5 or 10 years' time, it might be different. Who knows? But that's probably what it would be now.
I got time for another question?
Yeah, I think... No? Okay, no, we haven't. We've got the next question coming in. But thanks, Michael. It's been a real pleasure to chat to you. Thanks for giving me the 4 questions. Have a great day.
Same to you. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Graham next year. I remember seeing this question from Graham, and this was a very good question. It was a challenging question. Just if you're tuning in live, while we're going to the next question, I did promise, I mustn't forget this, that what we perceive to be the best question, maybe the one that ties me in knots the most, I'm going to invite to come to dinner with myself and my business partner, Mark Homer, in around about March. We'll get a 1 or 2 star Michelin booking, and we'd love you to come. So thanks for tuning in. Graham, how you doing?
Hi Rob, yeah, really good, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. What's your question?
Well, I'd like to first of all say thanks for this. Thanks for everything you do. You've changed my life, my family's life, and a lot of people's lives with all of your great content. So
thank you.
I just wanted to start by saying thank you. Honestly, it's so good what you do.
Thank you.
So yeah, my question is, I've got a lot of admiration for what you and Mark have achieved, especially in property looking back. Now, I know it's very naive for me to say you guys had it easy. There was a lot of good, easy financial products to take on, and you had a very strong property market back then.
Yep.
Now that said, with respect to the fact that not many people achieved what you guys achieved, very few in fact. So, but do you think it's possibly easier today with the modern? We've got the internet, we've got so many good resources, we've got training, we've got mentorship, and it's really readily available. But however, that's a double-edged sword, of course, because it also brings more competition and better competition. So, to summarise, would you prefer, knowing what you know now, but starting again, would you prefer to go back and have a rerun, or would you, do you think right now is a really good time to be getting going?
Okay, Graham, great question, thanks. So I think if there's something I've learned going through a full property market cycle and a bit of experience in business, but still a lot more, I'm not an autobiography yet, as we said in the last question, is that there's never easy or hard, there's never good or bad, there is both. And I did an internal vision meeting for my team at Progressive, and one of the things I was talking about is rarely now do I ever have a good day or a bad day. In fact, I don't ever have a good day or a bad day. I have another day where good things and bad things happen, where easy things and hard things happen. And I'm going to get to your answer, but it's important to give you a bit of a context to this. So, for example, I flew out to Geneva yesterday and we interviewed the CEO of Audemars Piguet, Francois Benamias. And he's an amazing guy. And with 2 days out there, and I paid for Tom to come, head of AV. And we got there, we were halfway through the interview and the audio equipment that we had just completely broke, just didn't work. It's a piece of equipment that's robust. I've used for all my podcasts. It's never cut in the middle of an interview, and it happens to break in the middle of an interview where we've, spent quite a few £1,000s going out to Geneva, and I'm basically at Legoland for me, with the guy who makes all the watches that I love, and probably one of our biggest interviews to date. And so it was like an amazing experience, but a shit thing happened in the middle of it. So, you don't get good days and bad days. That's generalization. You get good things happen, bad things happen, challenges, things that you master through your challenges. So to put this into context of your question, did we have it easy back then? In some ways it was easier, and in some ways it was harder. Is it easier now? In some ways it's easier, and some ways it's harder. So what was easier back then was getting a loan off a bank when you had no income, no job and no assets, which was good for me when I started because I had no income, no job and no assets. But that was not really necessarily a great way to have sustainable property portfolio because you're probably over leveraging and you probably aren't necessarily loan worthy, or at least a lot of people weren't loan worthy. And so what's perceived as good can be bad. In the recession and the crash that happened, a lot of companies who were bigger struggled. And so we were struggling too, because no one knew what was going to happen and it was all doom. But because we had low overhead and we were very agile, because we'd only just started, some of the big companies went bust and we were just left. So like Progressive Property became the biggest property training company in the UK, not necessarily on 25 years of hard work, but just because everybody else went. It was like the Wild West. It's like everyone else got shot and we didn't get shot. And so in some regards, that was quite fortuitous. Also, I learned so much vicariously through those companies that went bust, because the big companies, I don't want to mention their names because it's not really fair or elegant, but I was really good friends with the CEO of two of the biggest property companies in the company, possibly in the world at the time. And Mark and I got to know them. They were, were punching above our weight. They were much bigger business owners than us, but we sort of hunted them out, wined them, dined them. And, we got to watch over time the challenges that they had. And we got to experience that vicariously. Now, a lot of people say it's best to learn from your mistakes. That's poor advice. It's best to learn through someone else's mistakes, because would you rather go bust or would you rather watch them go bust and have a little, have a pen and paper ready and get all their experience? So many things happen that I could never learn now when things are better what I learned then. But there was no internet. You couldn't set up a property meet and have 60 or 70 people turn up by 2 or 3 social media posts. Raising JV finance is easier than ever. You can go in the progressive community and say, make a couple of videos and get well known. You can raise hundreds of thousands of pounds, which you couldn't do back then. So really, that's almost like the new 100% bank finance is private finance. So there's just new ways of doing the old things. But I have very much an innovator's, entrepreneur's outlook. I'm always excited by the new tech. I think that there's so many exciting things right now. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, live feeds, podcasts, virtual reality, Internet of Things, all these new, well, some of them aren't new, but we think they're new things. You're going to be able to do viewings from your VR headset. If you're a deal packager, you're going to be able to sell your properties. Someone's just going to go on your VR headset. If you're Progressive Property, you're going to be able to have ads all along on your VR headset. So, such exciting opportunities. So, what would I rather be, then or now? Well, I love having had the experience of both and all. And generally speaking, when you go through these cycles, property market or economy, you're just able a bit more to predict the future. You're able a bit more to be balanced. When everyone's saying, oh, it's really bad, it's only half bad. When everyone's saying, oh, it's really good, it's only half good. So when it's good, plan for when it's going to be bad. When it's bad, plan for when it's going to be good. And you just have a little bit more foresight to not make things so extreme, which is obviously what the media encourage us to do. So, I wouldn't change anything, and I'm really excited about what today and the future brings. And we're so much more connected, and it's just money moves so much more quickly, information moves so much more quickly that we can make money so much more quickly. I mean, WhatsApp sold, I think it was 19 billion. They'd only been going 5 years. Now, they couldn't have done that without fiber optics and information traveling at the speed of light. So when people moan about it's really hard right now because of, Brexit or, whatever, I just think you've got to expand your mind and see what great opportunities there are out there.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Graham. We've got the next caller.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Cheers.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Cheers.
If you're live, say hi, where you're from, or what beach you're currently sitting on watching this. I have quite a lot of parents who watch with their children, so do my best not to swear.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey.
We've got you.
We are live.
We are live, yeah.
So far away?
Yeah, please, Gordon.
Okay. My question is, if you had to take on any business, regardless of type, how would you set about making it a success in a few simple steps?
Wow, man, nothing like pressure. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would try and learn that business as quick as I could. I think that to go into a model and try and put your own system on it without understanding the business is maybe not the smartest move. So depending on how much time I had, I would do my best to learn the business. So how would I learn the business? I would talk to the founder. I would want to dig out what their problems and challenges are. I would try and talk to all the team. I would try and pick out their, loves, hates, pains, and really get a good flavour for the business. That's the first thing I'd do. The second thing is I would want to speak to the team, the customers, and I want to find out what they love and hate about that particular business. Because I always think that the answers to any business are hidden in plain sight. Your customer service issues are on the end of a conversation with a disgruntled customer or your customer service person who's dealing with them. And I just think sometimes the enemy of innovation is busyness. You're busy doing, running, doing. And sometimes you're doing the wrong things better or the wrong things harder. You're a martial artist. If you've got bad technique and you're drilling that bag technique over and over and over and over on the bag or something like that, all you're doing is putting muscle memory into a bad technique. You're best actually looking at the technique and getting the technique right. And so the great thing about being the founder, the CEO, or like me, I don't really have a job. My job is just annoying people, really, and getting in everyone's way and interrupting people. But I've created time in my life to listen and observe, and I see my job as making people feel comfortable enough around me so that they'll talk to me and they'll tell me stuff and they'll be honest with me. So if you're a bit aloof, or there's this sort of pedestalized feeling about you as a business owner, people aren't going to tell you the truth, or they're going to get nervous around you. So we had our staff Christmas party recently, and I got told a lot of stuff, which I'm quite surprised they told me about, and either they were pissed or they trusted me. And, that's a really great thing. And then I'm going to get the answers. And, so I just want to say that again. Someone else said that to me, so I'm kind of nicking their quote. And they said it without knowing it was a quote, but, busyness gets in the way of innovation. So you got to be less busy, talk to people, you want to ask some good questions. Like, I think it came from Scaling Up, or it might have been the Lean Startup. What should we start? What should we stop? What should we keep? So you got that start, stop, keep model. So getting people comfortable enough to trust you, to like you, to tell you the truth, and then asking them, what should we start? What should we stop? What should we keep? So let's say I'm coming into your business. I'm going to ask you that, but you're going to be biased. But I know that. And you might be a bit defensive because I'm coming in to help you out. So you might want to do all the keeps and not as many stops. And then I want to find your most disgruntled team member. I want to find your most disgruntled customer, but I want to find your most raving fan staff member and your most raving fan customer. And then I'm going to look at all of these things, and then I'm going to present them back to you, or I'm going to sort of look at this, what we need to work out, and then I'm going to try and work out what the culture, the values, and the vision is. And then once I've worked out the culture and the vision and the value is, and what we should start, stop, and keep, I'm going to try and marry those together, and then I'm going to create a plan to make those happen. And then I'm going to put the team together. And I think it was Steve Jobs that said, I want to hire great people and then get out of their way. Why would I want to hire great people and go and do their job for them? So then I'm going to look for the best people, and that's an iterative process. You might kiss a few frogs, it might take some time. Find great people, and then get out of their way, and let them crack on and go and deliver this vision, and implement these things to start, to stop, to keep. And then go and cash the checks and make the money.
Fair enough. That's great, Rob. Yeah.
Are we ready for the next one, Tom? All right. Thanks, Gordon. Have a great day.
Cheers, Rob.
Cheers. Bye. Okay, so whilst we're setting up the next question, we're going to do a Facebook question. So thanks for tuning in. Will you be doing business on Christmas Day? Absolutely yes, man. Why not? For me, and I'm going to get some haters for this. That's all right. But actually, I finished my book a couple of days ago, and a few people were like, hey, celebrate, enjoy Christmas. But I'd already started writing my next book before I finished this book. And I thought I'd give myself 12, 24 hours worth of not writing the book before I get into the next book. And when you love what you do, you know, work and play aren't compartmentalized or separated. And I've set up my life so that I can operate it from my phone and my device. And I will probably get up really early before everybody else at home. I probably will have a bit of fun on social. I probably will write an article or two. I probably will go through, maybe read some marketing reports, read some strategy reports, and think about the vision for 2020 or 2025 or 2030. I was interviewing Francois Benamias, CEO of Audemars Piguet, and he said, you know, we never stop. You know, our best products are always what's to come next. And, you know, that's kind of how I am. So, yeah, I probably will be doing some stuff on Christmas Day. But don't worry, I won't be on the device while the kids are there. Obviously, I'll enjoy the time with my family. But, yeah, I'll probably do a few hours worth of playing around. All right, next, who have we got?
Hi Rob.
Hi, Christian. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
So your question, please, my friend.
Yeah, my question is, how do you face your fears and keep going through adversity?
Okay, great question. So I think the way to face your fears is to know that the biggest highs of your life, the times where you'll experience the most fulfillment, are when you defeat your fears. So, you know, we're all kind of happiness junkies where we want to feel good, we want to be happy, we're looking for those moments that make us feel alive. And I've found that those experiences are on the other side of fear. So seeing fear in the same time and space as fulfillment and happiness and ecstasy and beauty and whatever else, I think really helps, number one. Number two, you always get your best lessons in life through facing your fears. You always get the best growth through facing your fears. You'll never truly experience life in all its technicolor if you don't face your fears. You'll probably always be unfulfilled and never feel like you're enough if you don't stand up to your fears. Everyone who's ever experienced something amazing or disruptive or innovative, or, you know, they've danced with and embraced and faced their fears. No one's fears are real. They're all an illusion that we create. Our fears are there to serve us, not to hinder us, to ensure that we grow, but to ensure that we don't go and, you know, do something too ridiculous. You know, like if we didn't have any fears, we'd be like lemmings and we'd walk off the nearest cliff and you'd just kill ourselves. We'd all die out. You know, so fears serve us. So understand that they serve us, but they're also there to teach us to grow. I know a lot of people that are always searching for happiness and you know, the search for happiness is fine. The illusion that you'll be able to achieve the depth of happiness is an illusion and it's naivety. And, you know, you embrace a fear, you grow through that fear, you defeat that fear, your self-worth goes up, so you feel a bigger, greater person who can contribute more. You carry that forward in your relationships, you're more inspirational to people, in your finances, you're able to make more money. But there's always a next level. And so it's almost like, what's the next fear? 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 So to summarize all those things, how do you face your fears and keep going through adversity? Is to understand that facing fears is growth, and facing fears is where you get the true rewards and joy in life. And to also not make it mean something too big. You know, like the word adversity, it's a bit of a, you know, why don't you call it challenge? You know, why don't you call it growth? Why don't you call it learning rather than adversity? Because, you know, if you make it bigger than it is, then it becomes bigger than it is. I believe you have another question, Christian.
Yes. And the other question I had was, how do you position yourself as the guy to yourself to JV with, to do joint ventures, and to stop time wasters and time vampires just wasting your time when they come and approach you?
Okay. All right. So, good question. There's a few parts to this. So how do you position yourself as the guy to JV with? Well, I think the first thing is you've got to have a clear set of values. And you've got to live authentically to what they are. And they are who you are, and you're supposed to be who you are, and you're not broken, and you have nothing to prove other than becoming who you are and growing into who you want to become that's authentic with yourself. So as soon as one tries to become someone one isn't, then one isn't sending a clear message out to raise finance, be a partner, be a life partner, attract the right team, whatever. So knowing what your values are, which is page 99 to 123 in my book, Life Leverage.
Right.
The next thing then is caring enough about people to getting to know what their values are and then marrying them. So, selling isn't about here's a deal, give me money. Selling is about caring about other people to find out their pains and problems and their values and serving and solving to them and for them, giving them solutions that are perfectly bespoke for them. And then it's not a sale, it's an exchange. So I went down to Tom Ford to have my wedding suit cut. And, I'm quite an individual. I like individual things. Probably doesn't surprise you. So I want one that's really low cut. But, they've got their way of doing things. You can't take the buttons off, but he cut it a bit lower for me. He can take the pocket flaps off if I don't want the pocket flaps. If I want it to look a bit slicker, obviously I can choose from the different materials. And we're balancing what Tom Ford is about. So he won't give me a bright green suit, but, maybe will give me something that's just a little bit different with what I want. And when you marry what Tom Ford is about, because I'm attracted to Tom Ford for my wedding suit because of his values and his vision and what he's about, and the bespoke nature of cutting that suit for me is marrying our values and having I wouldn't say a trade off, but merging those two, and then we both win.
Yeah. Okay.
The next thing is you've got to get yourself out there and you've got to be seen, because no, you can't be the go-to guy for business in your niche or girl, because JV's raising money, doing deals, getting business, finding great people for your team. It's all the same thing. You've got to get out there and be seen. And if you're not out there and seen, no one can find you. And I know it sounds so obvious, but a lot of people, basic things like they're not out on the social media platforms, or they haven't got a picture profile, or they're not going to networking events, and they're just not putting themselves out there. And you've got to put yourself out there. And some of the, when the big authors write books, they're going on all these book tours, and they're signing hundreds of books, and they're going on hundreds of little tours and book signings, and they're really promoting their book. It's not by accident that they are who they are. So you've got to get out there and you've got to get seen. And then if you do that, Christian, you'll probably naturally self-filter what you call the time vampires. But, you can't expect to have everything you want. And, there's 80-20 principle in everything. And everything is kind of like a mathematical equation of a numbers game. And you would find that naturally 1 in 6, 1 in 8 of the people that you meet will end up working with you no matter how good you get and how clear you are. And the rest, this is what's going to happen. But you shouldn't see that as a time drain. You should see that as part of the time. So if you raised 100 grand from every 5 clients or 5 meetings, 4 of them aren't time vampires. It's just that each one is worth 20 grand. But then as you become more successful in the outside world, then you can have a PA, or you can have someone who's qualifying these people, and you can get it down. Right, we have our next question, so I want to say thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, have a great day. Okay, next.
We'll cover the gap on the Facebook.
Okay, what is the biggest business opportunity of 2017? Wow, man. I think that anything that embraces these new disruptive technologies, such as virtual reality, drones, Internet of Things, 3D printing, biohacking. I think these businesses are going to flourish. So I don't think there's any one business model I could say is going to be the biggest opportunity, because I don't think there is one given thing. And I think that you shouldn't go into business just to have a great year and smash and grab, and run. But any business that embraces all of this new tech, I think they're going to be the businesses that win big next year. The businesses that won big this year probably embraced social media and embraced, some of these connective, networked models and technologies. So hopefully that helps. I think that was John who asked that. So anything that embraces and leverages the new tech. The network concept is where you can connect more people. So the internet was the biggest one, but of course there was rail, there was telecommunications, there was air travel. And at the moment we've got a lot of leverage on leverage, where social media, Internet of Things, virtual reality, they're all hijacking, piggybacking the internet. And the internet goes at the moment at the speed of light. And so anything that hijacks that, look at Apple Pay, put your phone there, pay. Biohacking in the future, put your hand there, pay. Anything that embraces that speed, because money loves speed, and the quicker money can move, the more you can make. So anything that embraces that. Top 5 book recommendations on time and mind mastery. Can I hold that so I can remember it? All right, so we'll just try and get your audio in while I do a next question. So top 5 book recommendations on time and mind mastery. Okay, so am I allowed to do a shameless plug here? Life Leverage.
Does it say besides your own?
It doesn't. Oh, it does say besides your own. Okay, so not Life Leverage. Do not buy Life Leverage. My next book is on reverse psychology. Don't buy that one. Okay, so Brian Tracy's How to Master Your Time is awesome. And I think, I certainly borrowed a few concepts of that and put my own spin on it for Life Leverage. So he's done quite a lot of work on time management and how to master procrastination. So How to Master Your Time is an audio program. I loved that. Eat That Frog is a great one. I loved that by Brian Tracy. Mind mastery. Yeah. The problem is I listen to so many, I find it difficult. So let me go back through the ones I've listened to this year. So for the last 6 months, I've been listening to nearly all money-related books because I like to do what they call deep work, deep dive, where like if I'm writing a subject of a book, for example, instead of just jumping and flitting around lots of different books, or that's the new one and that's the new one and that's the new one, whilst that's great and useful, I'd rather listen to 40 books in a row on the chosen subject, so money. So if I'll go through some of the ones I've listened to recently, and I'll try and keep it related to time and mind mastery, though that's not necessarily going to be that easy. All right, so what did I love? I really loved If I Could Tell You Just One Thing by Richard Reed. It's quite a new one, and I'm interviewing him on the podcast. I was supposed to do it tomorrow, actually, but unfortunately he's had a bereavement, but that will be coming out soon. So I thought that was really good. Radical Self-Acceptance by Tara Brach. That's a good one so mind mastery. It's very kind of zen. So that was good. Let's have a look at another one for mind mastery. How are we doing for audio? Do we know how we're going? Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg. That was a really great book. So kind of on mind mastery. That I think you'll really like that. All right. So how many is that? 3 or 4? All right. Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Adrian. All right. Hello. How you doing?
My question is, should we as entrepreneurs take responsibility for how we make our profit and the effect it has on other people's lives and businesses?
Wow. Okay, great question. Should we as entrepreneurs take responsibility for our profits and how it affects other people? Well, I think A, yes, but B, we already do. And I think there's a lot of misinformation or lack of knowledge around money and how it works. Hence why I've dedicated, the last 11 years to spending the last year on writing my new book, Money, which I finished 2 days ago. what I've really tried to do in that book is, yes, it's a how-to book on make money, but it's really trying to educate people on capitalism, finance, economics, in a non-technical way to tell people how money works. So I'm going somewhere with this. It's not just talking about my book. So when you're an entrepreneur, you start an enterprise that in what it does serves other people.
Yeah.
So whatever you make and whatever you teach and whatever you do serves people. It solves the problem. If it didn't, it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't have a purpose. So, yes, you can say there are more ethical models, but if an enterprise sustains, it has a purpose. So by being, you are. Number one, you are the innovator. The private sector is where all the innovation comes from. And then much of the money generated from the private sector funds the public sector. So as an entrepreneur, there's VAT charged on your money. So let's say you do 20 million a year, that is 4 million in VAT you've generated. Let's say you have a premises that's worth 2 million. Well, the business rates on that will be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. You pay employers' national insurance, employees' national insurance. You pay corporation tax. You pay personal tax. There's all these stealth taxes. So probably generating between 45 and 65 pence on every pound that you're generating as an enterprise, as an entrepreneur. And that's going into, I'll get you in one, I'll finish this part. So that fixes the roads, that funds the police, that funds the doctors, the hospitals, and it all the things in life, all of the benefits and everything that most people take for granted that serve a lot of people who, we are producers as entrepreneurs, and people who are served by the state, the public sector, or, maybe sort of are funded through benefits, are consuming what we produce. So we do all that anyway. And then I think if you have a cause that you believe in, so this year I'm setting up the Progressive Foundation. And over the last few years, we've donated hundreds of thousands of pounds to the 3 charities that we connect with the most because we've had personal loss in them. Sue Ryder, Cancer Research. But we're making a big, bold move this year. We're setting up our own foundation, which is a lot of red tape in setting one up, having your own charity. It's a big thing. And I'm going to be donating every single penny of profits from Money, my new book, to this foundation. And if it sells anything like Life Leverage did, it'll be hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. And so, yeah, I've got to the point where I feel compelled, something within me, to do more than just make profit. And every millionaire and billionaire and big business owner I've met, everyone I've met does. I'm not saying they all do. Maybe some are more on the greedy side. I don't know, but not the ones I've met.
Can I ask you,
please,
to go back to the point where you said it was really interesting what you said about the corporation tax and the VAT, and people don't realise as a business, I employ 6 people.
Yeah.
Don't realise how much extra we pay on top of the wages and everything else like that. Now, we're in a serviced office, and there are 10 businesses in that office, and we've just had our office bought, and you're fully aware of committed development.
Yep.
And our office employs 40 people across 10 businesses. There's a good 4 million a year coming into that office. And our landlord is now moving to make it permitted development, change it into flats. All of that tax goes away. So his effect for his profit, his vision, kind of like is having a negative effect. That's what I'm kind of referring to. Sometimes you as an entrepreneur, yes, you're paying tax here, but you can then have a negative effect on a lot of other businesses.
Yeah.
And your vision doesn't meet their vision.
It could do. I think, we're all still trying to figure out life, and we're trying to figure out the system for business and, how money works and everything. And the more I search and teach and research, and I'm committing my whole life to doing that at the moment, the more I realise that there is no negative, there's no deficit in the world. Everything balances itself out. And so I believe it is with business as well. So, where there's a producer, there's a consumer. And in that example where there's permitted development and there's, maybe, no planning permission and all the revenues that are generated from the planning, But there's a permitted development for a reason, because the local councils need us to solve their housing shortage problems, because otherwise they'd have to spend hundreds of thousands and millions and billions on building all the homes. So they're only going to give us tax breaks if we serve the community.
But where the business is going to go to employ the community?
Is that a question or a statement?
It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. Because I think as a community, and you're right, we need more housing, particularly in the southeast, but also we need places for people to work. Have you seen the commutes into London? It's a nightmare. And I really believe in employing locally. And we need, I think in the developments, you need office space put in place, not just residential.
Sure. I mean,
so you've got places for people to work locally. And I think there's an effect you need to look at generally in society, providing places to work and places to live and to be entertained.
Sure. I'd agree with that. I think that there'll be a whole load of stuff underneath this that you and I aren't aware of and we don't know.
Well,
but I think some things we are aware of is that there's a massive housing shortage in the UK. I don't know about the rest of the world, but massive in the UK, to the deficit of 200,000 a year, if you read the Barker report, and we're never catching up. So why are these tax breaks and regulations and relaxations are there? Because entrepreneurs are the councils and the boroughs and the governments need us to solve the problem. The entrepreneurs are solving the problem. So, and then the other trend I'm seeing is a lot more people are working from home. I'm just seeing that. Now, you're in a business of serviced offices, but people are working in smaller spaces. People are living in smaller spaces. People are more global. People are working off, this device, as am I. We knocked my office out of my office and we could get about 8 staff members in my office. So I think we're just going with the prevailing trends. I could debate this all day. I think we've got to move on to our next question. But I really want to be the champion, what entrepreneurs do, because a lot of people who are employed or don't have a good relationship with money, they don't realise what we do just by being in existence. You said you employ 6 people. Well, those 6 people have got to pay their mortgages and they've got to send their kids to school and everything else. And you're probably paying, if they're working for you, they perceive they're getting a better job or a better pay than somewhere else, and you're doing that.
Great employer.
Yeah, exactly, a great employer. And these are all the things that we serve. And that's why I love being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, me too.
And so, there are downsides too. But I don't think there's any deficit in the world. Production and consumption equal out. Money.
Every challenge we get is an opportunity as well.
Exactly.
And you've got to look at what the next, we've got a challenge at the moment where we're going to have our office space. But it's also an opportunity to look at, do I get into property myself? Because then I can secure that for the future. Because that's the only way I can do that. So.
Sure. Right. Been a pleasure. Let's carry on the conversation in the community. And have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, Rob.
All right. We've got Dan next. Dan, can you hear me?
I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, that's a beautiful beard you're wearing there.
Yeah, slightly ginger.
Yeah. Dan, thanks for tuning in. What's your question?
Yeah. Who is your current or most recent mentor and what have you learned?
Okay, so John DeMartini is one of my current mentors. And how do I summarize what he's learned? I think in my life, I've been quite an extreme person. Everyone who knows me says I'm quite an extreme person. I've got quite an addictive personality. And so before property and business, I was an artist and I was very negative about everything. I always saw the downside. I'd be the sort of person that could drain the energy out of a party as soon as I walked in, glass half empty, everything else. And the reality was life wasn't like that extreme. That was just how I was perceiving it. And then I went and I had this sort of eureka moment where my dad had a nervous breakdown and, I had more pain, which kind of almost shocked me to say, I can't have this anymore. And it kind of it was like a positive breaking of my soul. And then I started searching for happiness, and I went on a load of personal development courses and read a load of happy books. I even started listening to happy songs, no more death metal and, more happy stuff. And then I was almost like, well, we can be happy all the time. There's, you can turn everything into a positive. And I think overall what I've learned from Dr. John over the sort of 5 years I've been working with him, I suppose, is that, everything is meant to be as it is, and every human being is supposed to express every emotion. Every emotion serves a purpose. Anger serves a purpose. Frustration serves a purpose. Guilt serves a purpose. All these negative emotions are there to teach us to grow and then, force us to contribute to humanity so we can evolve. And, if you listen to a lot of the more spiritualist and the sort of the Zen stuff that's coming out at the moment, they're saying, don't ignore the emotion, don't suppress the emotion, don't try and spin the emotion too quickly, just notice the emotion, feel the emotion. Sometimes maybe if it's grief or if it's loss or something, you need to allow it to happen rather than suppress it. You suppress it, you cause illness. And so, this balance of emotion, if you look at a balance sheet, it's supposed to balance the left side versus the right side. If you look at the economy, it balances the positive with the negative. And that would be what I've mostly learned from Dr. John. So I'm a person who can experience manias, i.e. this is freaking amazing. And when you're like that, you've got to be like, okay, so we've got to look at the downsides and prepare for them in the future. And then also, if you're like having a bit of a downer, you've got to think, well, there are balanced upsides to this. What am I supposed to learn? How can I grow through this? How does this serve me? So I'd say that's what I've probably mostly learned from Dr. John. One of my friends, I see everyone as a mentor that I can learn from. Whether I'm paying them to be a mentor officially, or they're a mentor in a certain area, but I see everybody as a mentor. So my good friend Dave Ravenscroft, who's worth tens of millions, he just sold one of his Australian businesses for tens of millions. I was talking about life leverage, and at the time I had an office in my office, and he didn't have a premises anywhere in the world. And so he said to me, Rob, if you want to be fully mobile, you need to get rid of your office. If you have an office, you've got an overhead, you're tied to be there, you've got your computer there, you've got to go there, you get stuck in the office, blah, blah, blah. So get rid of your office. So that was something and that was the final sort of piece of the puzzle of what I put into the life leverage philosophy. So, he taught me that. Mark's taught me loads about managing money, and never spending more than you earn and paying yourself first and understanding the cost of capital. And so, preserving capital and understanding opportunity cost of decisions and, balancing skeptical with optimistic. And I could go on and on and on. But hopefully there's a bit of help for you there, Dan.
Yeah, I've got another question, if that's okay.
Yeah, is it all right, Tom? Yeah, go on then, fire away, nice and quick.
Yeah, what personal advice would the Rob of today give the Rob of 15 years ago? Now, not maybe
get into property.
Not maybe specifics of business, but more like, be more confident, believe in yourself, that kind of advice. Knowing what you know now and knowing where you was 15 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Stop worrying about what other people think about you. Take time to think about what your purpose is in life. Once you've found it, don't worry if you think you can monetize it or it's a business, or it's right or wrong or what other people think about it. Just go and do it with all your passion and all your soul. Do it long enough to become a success at it. And then try and meet as many amazing people as you can on your journey. And then once you're in a fortunate position that you've done good, spend a good amount of your time helping others and giving back. And listen to happy stuff as well as death metal. Cheers, Dan.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thanks, mate.
See you, buddy.
All right. So this is the final question. All right. When is your next book out, Rob? Reese? I wish I knew. It's got to go to the publishers now. I'm sure they're going to have something to say about it. They wanted it to be 30,000 words less. So there's probably going to be a bit like Radiohead, who sort of all have different influences in the band and they have some creative sort of wrestles within their band. I think I'm going to have some creative struggles with my publisher because I don't really want any of it out. They're going to take some of it out. I know I'm not answering your question at all, Reese. I don't even know. Sometime in 2017, probably a bit later than we'd all like, but keep your eye out for it. I've got some special things I'm going to do with the book. I'm trying to convince my publisher to do a special limited edition run of 500 where I'll do a book signing with it, and maybe something like this in a London bookshop, and I'll have like a hardback leather bound version where you can take notes, and it'll be like an old ancient manuscript. Also, we are going to give a special someone who asked what we thought was the best question was going to dinner with me. I think we should do that a bit. We should announce that on a future podcast.
Yeah, we'll announce the winner later on.
Okay, so I'll announce the winner on a future podcast, but the winner will be coming with me and my business partner Mark and one other guest to a 1 or 2 star Michelin restaurant in London. And then anyone who asked a question, I want to say thanks. We've got a special gift for you. So how do we get in touch?
Natalie will get in touch.
Okay. Natalie, who's been behind the scenes liaising with you all, she'll get in touch. I want to say thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us on the few tech issues. That's the beauty of it being live. I think we did okay for our first ever one like this. There's like 5 of us behind the scenes all trying to make this work. So thanks, Tom. Thanks, Harry. Thanks, Natalie. Remember, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. Please share this podcast with anyone you think this could help. I never charge for this information. I'll never be selling any sponsorship, although I'm so tempted to do Audemar's Piguet because I love them so much. But no, I won't. I'll just promote them without them paying me. And thanks a lot for tuning in to the 100th episode. I can't believe we got here. Who'd have thought when we started this we'd have a 100th episode and hundreds of thousands of subscribers all over the world. So thanks very much for tuning in. Have a great day.